Welcome to another Jamie Tries video. Welcome to my kitchen for the first time. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. Those who know me will know that in the kitchen I am not great. I lack confidence, experience. I've done little bits and pieces here and there, but yeah, being able to cook a meal from start to finish is not one of my strong suits. One of my current obsessions is the new James May series on Amazon Prime called Oh Cook, where James May isn't a professional chef, but he does like to cook, and I find that really inspiring. There's a couple of series on there, not sponsored. Go and check it out. It's such an inspiring series, and as one of my obsessions I decided to take the plunge and buy his cookbook, also titled Oh Cook, 60 recipes that any idiot can make. I really like James May as a person and a character because he is basically everyone's dad. He's certainly my dad. He comes to it with this sort of workshop manual kind of thing in this book, and I thought what I would do in this video is have a go at the Chilli Con Carne recipe that is within its pages. Now everybody has their own version of Chilli Con Carne. This is the version that James May has put into this book, and I'm going to try and recreate it with a few exceptions, which we shall get to in just a moment. So the basic ingredients that we shall need for this recipe are olive oil, minced ground beef, 1 large onion, hot chili powder, tomato puree, 1 can of chopped tomatoes, hot beef stock, 1 can of red kidney beans, 1 bunch of fresh coriander, and salt and pepper. Now obviously with anything like this I don't stick to the recipe to the letter because I wasn't able to find every piece of ingredient, or I've gone a little bit cheaty with it. But without further ado, let's crack on, shall we? So firstly, it says 2 teaspoons of olive oil, use half in a pan. You'll have to excuse me, my terminology is not quite up to scratch yet, but I guess that's the whole point. I've not done this before. Oh, there we are. I'm going to say that's a teaspoon, and so we put this in, just waiting for the pan to heat up a little bit. I don't really know why I haven't really tried preparing a meal before. Probably the patience thing. I think up until a few years ago I had this thing where it had to be almost instant, I guess, and so I can use a microwave, you know, that's fairly simple, so I can heat up ready-made meals and stuff. But preparing food on an oven top or in the oven is relatively new to me, except for a few things. Yeah, mainly putting things in the oven, very much like the microwave. So we've heated up a little bit, so let's just swish this round. Yeah, that is hot, isn't it? I guess the idea is to just not drench it in oil, because otherwise it'll be oily, but just to coat it lightly. Now I have to put the mince in the frying pan and cook until browned. I've gone for frozen mince for many reasons. Have you seen that new packaging that they have on the fresh mince now? What do you make of it? Let me know in the comments below. This I was able to get a little bit more and then measure it out and save some for later, so it seemed more economical. So let's just tip that in there. So the book says to stir regularly. This is kind of therapeutic. I do like the sound than it makes when you're frying things. So now that is cooked, I've turned the hob off, and out of the 2 teaspoons it said, we used half in there. So now we have to use half in here. Right, so the oil goes in there. So it said to put the other half of the oil in this pan, and I was supposed to chop and dice an onion, but I decided to cheat a little bit and go for ready-made. I might do a video in the future, maybe chopping up different vegetables and trying that for the first time in many cases. Oh, sorry, I got a bit of heat there. Oh. Even though the pan was turned off, I forgot there was going to be heat there. So yeah, don't do that. So I've turned that onto 3, and I'm supposed to cook these until they're soft. Although the fact that they've already been sliced and diced, they're probably already cooked to some capacity. Now these are going brown very quickly. I'm getting that aroma of onion in the air now. Do you like the smell of onion? This stench of onion, depending on what your politics are regarding it? I quite like it. So I think the onions are about done. So we'll just take that off. And then it said 1 teaspoon of chili powder, but we couldn't find any. So I've gone for red chili paste, and my wife has suggested, instead of 1 spoon like the 1 teaspoon like the book suggests, do 2 teaspoons of that. 1 teaspoon into there, 2 teaspoons into there like that. Now we can put it back on the hob, and we'll just stir it in a bit. Get some of those flavours, infuse the flavours, I think, that Lloyd Grossman used to say. It's funny, I love like watching cooking shows. I love cooking shows, from watching Lloyd Grossman as a kid to like Jamie Oliver, and then in recent times YouTubers like Barry Lewis, and yet never really the confidence to go ahead and do it. And yet the colour that it's coming out with there is incredibly pleasing, and hopefully that comes across. I don't know about anyone else, but I would eat that with the red chili paste on it, just on its own, let alone with everything else, with all the other goodness that we're about to put into it. Now I've got my mince from earlier, and I'm supposed to tip it into here. So I'll try and do that without dropping the pan. Oh, nicely. There we go. And then we'll put it back on the hob and mix it in. So we're on to the next stage, which is basically put everything else in. So we'll start with the 3 tablespoons of tomato puree. So we'll put that in. That's number 1. Let's skip forward a tiny bit. So that is the 3rd tablespoon in there of the tomato puree. So let's put that back on there. Now anybody who's seen a previous video will know that I've used a can opener before, but just in case you missed it, here's round 2. Let's open this up. Now obviously if you want to chop tomatoes yourself, then you can do, but this is the way that James May said to do it. I think it speeds up the process. So let's take that off again. Bit messy. I'll clean that up in a moment. So there's the tomatoes. Ta-da! It's funny, there's a lot of cuts in this because I'm having to keep going back and reading it, because this is all one line and yet it seems to be taking a while. So this is the hot stock. We'll just put that in there. Not going to make a mess with that one. So let's mix this in nicely. Just try and infuse all the flavours again. So now we're just waiting for it to boil, which you can see. And now we're supposed to leave it for about 40 minutes just to bubble away in there. I'm not going to spend that entire 40 minutes just staring at this. Probably go off and do something else, listen to some quo or play some guitar, or you know, indulge in some other passions that I might have. I am relatively impressed with how easy that was, considering I find this quite scary, and a lot of the time it was this boiling sensation, and certainly the I mean, I used to be afraid of the kettle at one point, very intimidated by the kettle, but this was very easy, and I think it does what it says on the tin. But maybe I shouldn't be saying that at this point, because we haven't actually tasted it yet. We will do a little bit later. So welcome back. 35 minutes have passed, and this has been simmering away here, looking very nice indeed. And we have one more step before serving, which is to get some red kidney beans and then, you know, rinse them and all the other things that you do with them when they come out of a can. Do you like red kidney beans? Are you a fan? Do let me know in the comments below. So I'm supposed to put these in. Come on, try not to do it too fast. That will come the speed with confidence, I'm sure. So let's just stir that round, because 5 minutes before closing, supposed to put these in just to heat them up. And then what we will do is grab this coriander, which has been chopped, and then we just put this in here. Now it looks like a lot, but I'm sure when it's mixed in it won't have quite such a dominant effect on its texture and look, and any other foodie words that I can think of that probably have no basis being in the sentence. But there we are. I mean, I am quite pleased with that. I think that looks really nice. I've followed this recipe to the letter, apart from a couple of cheaty things, but it's mainly skipping steps rather than omitting ingredients, because that's kind of what you have to do. It's only a base, isn't it, at the end of the day? I'm sorry, for a moment I heard James May's tones in my head and think some of it seeped through into this YouTube cooking video. What I can say really is that the recipe was well laid out. It was language I understood, with a tiny bit of help from my wife to understand certain words, but even if my wife wasn't there, I could Google it, as some people would say. So, you know, these things are possible. So now let's just season it with a bit of salt. So a tiny bit of pepper in there. We'll just do one final mix, and then we'll be ready to serve. Wow. Now I would say that that is pretty much done, wouldn't you? I think it's time to serve. So let's serve it now. We've got rice here, which my wife has prepared, because the book doesn't say anything about actually cooking the rice, simply just serving it with. So I could have gone for a microwave rice, but instead We've done it like that. So let's do 3 or 4 spoonfuls of this, because this recipe is supposed to serve 4, but I'm just going to do a serving for 1 and then save the rest for later. So that is James May's Chilli Con Carne. If we look down in this pan, that's 1 serving, and then in this pan, that's quite a lot. And actually the ingredients for this, and you could give or take a few, I think there are some things that maybe don't need to be in there. If you were cost conscious, you could reduce that. I think it was about £5 for all the ingredients, obviously taking into account some things are expensive and you're only using a portion of it, aren't you? So that's where my costing comes in. I don't think that's too bad. Actually, serving for 4 makes it around sort of £1 to £1.50. Decent. So, without further ado, let's try it, shall we? So now it comes to the taste test, which is something I do on this channel all the time, but rarely with things that I have cooked myself. The skills that I have done here, I can kind of adapt and do other recipes. If you'd like to see me do that, please do let me know. Now, if you have seen James May's series, you'll know that he's got somebody who helps him out called Nikki. Well, my Nikki is my wife Andrea, who's going to come in and try this with me. Welcome to the channel. Let's just take a spoonful. A forkful. I'm going to try that. Oh yeah, there's the spice, definitely. Yum.
Good job.
And the thing that's quite hot though, isn't it? But I think
Not
that's
crazy hot though.
That's what you expect chili to have, that kick. One thing that I didn't mention was that the way in which James has got the recipe in there is this is dairy free, unless there's something in the stock cube that's a bit odd, then this is also gluten free. So yeah, this is us safe, which is one of the reasons why we picked the recipe, and it just so happens to be very tasty as well.
It's a nice balance of ingredients. Nothing is too much.
No. Fantastic. I think the first time I had chili was, or chili con carne anyway, was at school. Everyone else in the country was having turkey Twizzlers. We were having chili con carne. So this kind of brings me back to that. This reminds me of that kind of thing. So that's almost like a childhood comfort eat for me. That's really nice. I don't think that needs anything adding to it either.
No. If you made it again for yourself, would you take anything out or change anything?
The coriander seemed like a bit of a thing. I didn't show it on camera, but you have to kind of, you know, chop it up and stuff. I can't really taste that in here. It's not really present. Maybe it contributes to some of the flavour, but to me, just that spice and the tomatoes, the nice sweetness of that, and then served on a bed of rice. I mean, you can't get any better, can you? Yeah, so that is James May's Chilli Con Carne recipe. If you want to try it yourself, go and buy the book, or you can try and follow this video. Yeah, as Julia Child once said, bon appetit. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want me to try some more recipes from James May's O Cookbook, or maybe something else, do let me know in the comments below. And thank you once again for watching a Jamie Tries video.